to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on January 11, 2024, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media outlet newspapers, the Record and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcasted online or on local TV at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meeting as any gathering, whether corporeal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kane is not here. Mrs. Colback.
Here.
Mrs. Curry.
Here.
Mr. Knight.
Here.
Mrs. Cotain is not here. Mr. Lopez. Here. Ms. Morel.
Here.
Mr. Rubino.
Here. And
Mrs.
Dr. Byers-Kane is on her way.
Okay. And Mrs. Richter.
Here. The board will be convening to executive session to discuss legal, personnel, or other confidential matters. The board will reconvene into public session at approximately 7:30 p.m. We have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
Motion Morel, second Rubino. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, you get that.
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on January 11, 2024, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com. Published in the board's designated online media outlet newspaper, the Record and the Star Ledger. Filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcasted on local TV and online at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meeting as any gathering, whether corporeal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit on the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kane.
Here.
Mrs. Colback.
Here.
Ms. Curry.
Here.
Mr. Knight.
Here.
Mrs. Cotain.
Here.
Mr. Lopez. Ms. Morel.
Here.
Mr. Rubino.
Here.
Mrs. Richter.
Here. The board convened executive session at 6:30 p.m. to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. Dr. Kravitz, will you begin by sharing the superintendent's report?
Yes, I will. Second. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for this board meeting. A few updates for everyone. Schedules are being finalized and checked. We only have a few more appointments as permanent replacements have pretty much been filled up, but we do have some leave replacements scheduled for interviews over the next week and a half. Buildings are being cleaned, and as you will see in a few moments, we have our test scores. We've gotten that data, and Ms. Coyasso Baker is going to start to present them. Administrators will be returning back from their vacations. Buildings are getting cleaned. As I said, new teacher orientation begins in 23 days. And yes, everyone, in 31 days, school starts. So we are looking forward to a very positive year. With that being said, I hand over the mic to the assistant superintendent for the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
I'm going to try to use my outside voice. Good evening. Tonight, I will be presenting the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency, otherwise known as NJGPA, and Access Test Data from the Spring 2024 administration.
Thank you, Mr. Rubino. Next slide, please. So we'll first talk about the NJGPA data, just an overview as far as basic information regarding this assessment. Statute requires the NJGPA to be administered to all grade 11 students. There is an English language arts component and a math component. The English language arts component is aligned to grade 10 New Jersey student learning standards in English language arts, and the math component is aligned to New Jersey's Algebra 1 and Geometry standards. Next slide. Achieving a proficient score on both the ELA and math and JGPA is a state graduation requirement. However, students who do not meet the minimum required score on each component of the assessment will have the opportunity to satisfy state assessment requirements through alternative pathways, which include demonstrating proficiency on the NJGPA, retaking it if it's not passed the first time, summer or fall. The second pathway is to meet a designated cut score from a menu of alternative assessments, such as the PSAT, SAT, ACT, or Accuplacer. Or the third pathway to submit a portfolio appeal to the New Jersey Department of Education. However, in order to go through the third pathway, students have to show that they've attempted the NJGPA but did not meet the minimum required score. Next slide, please. This slide shows the number of students tested during the spring 2024 administration of the NJGPA and the participation rate for grade 11 students. And as you can see, we had 99.7% participation from grade 11 students. Next slide, please. This chart shows a comparison of these school districts' performance on the NJGPA and the state's performance in both 2023 and 2024. You can see that Fort Lee students performed above the state average in both English language arts and math. Next slide, please. This chart shows performance on the NJGPA by grade level. Overall, 89% of students who took the assessment earned a proficient score in ELA, and 75% of students who took the assessment earned a proficient score in math. Next slide, please. This chart shows a 3-year analysis of the percentage of Fort Lee students that were deemed graduation ready on the NJGPA. There was a 5% decrease in ELA performance between the 23 and 24 administration. However, we're still showing great improvement from the first administration in 2022, and we are happy to see a 7% improvement in proficiency on the math component since last year's administration, and math instruction has been a focus of this district for the last couple of years. Next slide, please. This chart shows a comparison of student performance on the 2023 and 2024 English language arts portion of the NJGPA by ethnic and racial subgroups. You will notice that for some subgroups, an asterisk is used instead of a percentage. The asterisk indicates that the subgroup consists of less than 10 students, and therefore we cannot share data on that subgroup to preserve student privacy. That's actually a New Jersey Department of Education protocol. We can see that the majority of students in each group achieved proficiency on the ELA and JGPA. However, we do see a decline in performance between the 23 and 24 scores for the Hispanic, Asian, and African American populations. Next slide, please. This chart shows a comparison of student performance on the 2023 and 2024 English language arts portion of the NJGPA by different subgroup categories. Students may be counted more than once in this chart, as they may fall in more than one subgroup category. The vast majority of students that meet the definition of economically disadvantaged and students with 504s were proficient on the ELA portion of the assessment. We did have a decline in performance among students with disabilities and multilingual learners.
The cohorts of students are different, and although the NJGPA is different from the NJSLA, we are awaiting updated NJSLA results to see if there are similar performance. The New Jersey SLA stands for New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. Next slide, please. This chart shows a comparison of student performance between the 2023 and 2024 math portion of the NJGPA by racial and ethnic subgroups. Overall, all subgroups increased in the percentage of students that achieved proficiency on the math assessment. Based on this chart, the vast majority of our Asian, white, and students of 2 or more races achieved proficiency on the math portion. And although less than 50% of Hispanic or Latino and Black or African American students achieved proficiency on the math assessment, we are happy to see an increase in achievement between the 23 and 2024 administrations in both of these subgroups. The percentage of Hispanic students that achieved proficiency on the math portion increased by 5%, and the percentage of Black or African American students that achieved proficiency on the math assessment increased by about 30%. Next slide, please. This chart shows a comparison of student performance on the 2023 and 2024 math portion of the NJGPA by different subgroup categories. Again, students may be counted more than once because they fall into more than one subgroup. For the 2024 administration, more than 50% of our economically disadvantaged students and students with 504 plans achieve proficiency on the math component of the NJGPA. However, we do see a decline in performance in our students with disabilities and multilingual populations. And just as I said with the English language arts data, we're awaiting updated reports to see if we see a similar difference in performance on the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. Next slide, please. So overall, based on this data that was shared, Fort Lee High School students continue to perform above the state average. Overall, Fort Lee High School graduation readiness in mathematics increased by 7%, and Fort Lee High School graduation readiness in English language arts, or ELA, decreased by 5%. The majority of students in all racial and ethnic subgroups, as well as economically disadvantaged students and students with 504s, achieved a proficiency score on the ELA and NJGPA. There was an increase in proficiency on the math and NJGPA across all racial and ethnic subgroups, with a significant increase in our Black or African American student population. After taking a closer look at the data, support is definitely needed in both grade 10 ELA, Algebra 1, and geometry with regards to students with disabilities and multilingual learners. When we dove into the actual skill data, we noticed that in the English language arts, support is needed in concepts related to reading informational text, and in math, support is needed in concepts related to geometry. Next slide, please. At this time, in response to this data, we have identified professional development and coaching that will be provided for all Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 teachers. We are going to be implementing newly revised English language arts curriculum that will increase instruction on informational reading skills and include more emphasis on informational texts. There will be enhanced support for multilingual learners that I will speak more about later in the presentation. The ELA and Math Strategies courses at the high school will be offered to eligible students, and tutoring will also be offered to eligible students. Next slide. And now I will be presenting the access results based from the spring 2024 administration. This assessment is administered to all K-12 students eligible for English as a second language and services. Next slide, please. Access stands for Assessing Comprehension and Communication in English, State to State. This assessment measures student mastery of English language development standards known as the WIDA standards. Next slide. The Access Assessment is given annually to monitor students' progress in learning academic English. There are 4 domains that are assessed: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And an overall composite score of 4.5 or higher is required for a multilingual learner to exit our ESL program. Next slide, please. Here are our results from the spring 2024 administration. Please note that percentages may not equal exactly to 100 due to rounding. In K through 4, 36% of our multilingual learners scored a level 4 or 5. In grades 5 and 6, 57% of our multilingual learners, students, scored a level 4 or 5. In grades 7 and 8, about 50% of our multilingual learner students scored a 4, 5, or 6. And at the high school level, 35% of our students scored between a level 4 through 6. Overall, 43% of our multilingual learners scored a 4, 5, and 6. It's important to note that parents have a right to refuse English language or bilingual services, but a student who is eligible for these services must take the access test even if a parent refuses the services. Of the 544 students who took the access test, 45 students were found eligible, but parents refused services. Next slide, please. This chart shows a 3-year comparison of our access results. If you compare the results from the 23 to the 24 school year, we see an improvement in proficiency in grades K, 4, and 5. We see that we have a decline in grades 1, 2, and 3, but then an increase in grades 4 and 5 and a decline in grade 6. This data does not show the number of students that are new to our district or those that have been in our district since kindergarten. Next slide, please. Here's a similar chart for grades 7 through 12. We see that we have had a decline in grades 8 and 10, but then an increase in grades 7, 9, 11, and 12. The number of 7 through 12 students eligible for ESL or bilingual services has also increased by 19 students. The total population of multilingual learner students increased by 117 students between the 22-23 and the 23-24 school year. Most of those students fell within the K through 6th grade levels. Next slide, please. This slide shows our access results by subgroup, and the data is disaggregated by race or ethnicity. The subgroup Other is marked with an asterisk because this subgroup consists of less than 10 students, and as per Department of Education guidelines, we cannot report on subgroups that are less than 10 students to preserve student privacy. Here we see that while the majority of the students in most subgroups scored level 1, 2, and 3, 71% of students in multiple races subgroup achieved a score of 4 or greater. Next slide, please. This chart shows the comparison between our 2023 and 2024 performance on the access assessment across racial and ethnic subgroups. In some subgroups, there was a decline in performance, and there was a 14% increase in performance for students of multiple races. Next slide, please. This chart displays our spring 2024 access results for students in different subgroup categories. Some students may be counted twice, as students may fall into more than one category. As you can see, the majority of students in each subgroup achieved a score of 3, which indicates that a number of our multilingual learners are just on the cusp of achieving a proficient score. Next slide, please. This chart compares the 2023 and 2024 spring administration performance by the same subgroups as in the prior slide. There was a slight decline in performance for students with 504 plans and students with disabilities. However, we are pleased to see a 23% increase in achievement among our economically disadvantaged students compared to the 2023 spring administration. Next slide, please. So findings and achievements for our access data. Between the spring of 2023 and spring of 2024, there was over a 5% increase in the number of multilingual learner students that achieved a proficient score on the access assessment grades. From grades 1 through 2, we saw a 6% increase in proficiency. From grades 3 through to 4, we saw an 11% increase in proficiency. From grades 4 through 5, we saw a 15% increase in proficiency. And from grades 11 through 12, we saw a 9% increase in proficiency. These proficiency increases are actually tracking similar students. While most multilingual students did not achieve a proficient score on the access test, the majority of our students are on the cusp of proficiency. And when we looked closer at the data, we noticed that support is needed in literacy and foundational language proficiency skills. Next slide, please. In response to this data, I'm able to report areas that we will address in the 24-25 school year. With regards to curriculum, for the last year, an extensive needs assessment was done regarding our elementary English as a second language curriculum. In the 24-25 school year, we will be running curriculum resource pilots. K through 4 bilingual and level reading books for the general education classrooms will be provided, and there will be grades 7 through 12 ESL curriculum revisions with the department. For professional development, we will offer sheltered instruction training for our new and untrained teachers. We will be providing literacy training for general education elementary teachers that focuses on differentiation for different subgroups of learners. There will be an ML strategies training and coaching opportunity for our grade 4 high school science and high school social studies departments. There will be a newcomers workshop for all of our ESL and bilingual staff, and there will be a bilingual strategies workshop for our K through 8 bilingual teachers. We will also continue to offer tutoring for our K through 12 multilingual learners. Next slide, please. And just to conclude the presentation, if anyone in the community or parents or board members would like to have more information regarding these assessments, the link is included. The presentation will be posted on our website tomorrow following this board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Koyasu. Thank you, parents. Superintendent's report.
Thank you for those reports. Before we get into committee reports, I just want to speak on an issue that has been circulating in the community in the last 24 hours, so people have an understanding of why these policies are on tonight's agenda for a first reading. So we are a board of committees, for those who don't know that, meaning that committees meet to discuss certain topics under the areas in which they fall: buildings and grounds, curriculum, athletics, and so on. And then that committee makes recommendations and brings them to the entire board for further discussion. The purpose of 2 readings for the policies is so that the first reading can facilitate board discussion. After several of the past hours-long meetings of the last few months, several community members have approached many board members with concerns about people from out of town coming and speaking at meetings, joining on Zoom, saying we should limit it only to Fort Lee residents. That is not allowed. Public comment is for everyone, whether you live in Fort Lee or not. So discussions took place. People were brainstorming, trying to figure out, how do we limit these long meetings? How could we possibly limit the amount of people from out of town? And someone said, maybe we eliminate Zoom. So I said, bring it to the policy committee. So a few weeks ago, don't remember the exact date, policy committee met, and I believe Ms. Morrell brought that, hey, I was told to bring this to the policy committee. So here, let's discuss it. So there was conversation among the people in the meeting. And while some were in favor of saying, hey, sure, let's get rid of Zoom. They're really long meetings, lots of people calling that don't live in Fort Lee and taking up residents' time. Ms. Colbeth was against it, but she did say, if we are going to continue to discuss this, let's make it lead by example, and board members also have to show their face in public instead of joining virtually. So we also discussed that. That is why these 2 policies are now on tonight's agenda for board discussion in public, so everyone can hear the conversation going back and forth. No one on this board is trying to sneak things through or eliminate certain board members from conversations. So this is why this is on the agenda. As for the part of the policy that reads about consecutive absences and board attendance, this has always been a board policy. I believe it is actually a law that 3 consecutive absences for any board member in the state of New Jersey brings forth a conversation of the board and potential for the board to remove that member. It is not the Fort Lee Board of Education trying to remove people from board meetings and kicking them off the Board of Education. It is actually a state law for all board members in the state of New Jersey. Thank you. Do we have committee reports? Yes.
We do. So the Public Relations Committee met, and we got an update from Dr. Kravitz about the public relations strategy. I don't have a microphone, so I'm just talking loud. Yeah, we don't have a microphone.
So the PR committee met, and we received an update from Dr. Kravitz about our public relations strategy for the 2024-2025 school year. We got an update about the newsletter. I think the most exciting update that we received was that some clubs are going to be formed at the school that is going to help facilitate our social media strategy and also our public relations strategy. So that was really exciting. Something else that I'm really excited to talk about is we discussed the potential of partnering with our town's business improvement district to potentially have a mural project that could involve our special needs kids in the district. I think that's really exciting, and people seem to think that was a great idea. So.
And just as an update, we did speak about that location, but that's not their domain, but they gave us another location across from the Metropolitan Plan Exchange, one of the walls that we are to decorate.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we'll be working on that.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other committee reports?
On July 22, the policy committee met, and it discussed primarily transportation, student transportation, our district subscription transportation. That's where parents actually pay. They're not within a zone that entitles them to transportation. The district has some required transportation depending on distance. And then we have what I'll put into a discretionary bucket. And so we asked for additional information, and just based on the preliminary discussions, it appears that busing will remain the same, although until the policy is put on an agenda, there could be additional changes. We had before us the facilities usage policy, which we're going to be looking at. However, the Bergen County School Boards Association is doing a current survey on uses, costs, things of that sort. And so we're waiting for the complete results of that to take a look at our policy to see whether any changes are merited. And then we looked at policy 1055, which deals with all of the committees that Kristen just referenced. This is how our board operates. The committee was unanimously in favor of creating a new committee called the Special Education Committee. And we have a practice in our district for years where we have liaisons to various community groups, although that is not recited in our policy. So we're cleaning that up and adding the liaisons. And on an agenda, I expect probably in September or sometime soon, we will see the addition of the Special Education Committee. Thank you.
And once that committee is in the policy, I will send a interest for who wants to be on that committee.
I'll sign up now.
Okay. Holly? I'm sure you all.
Yeah. The personnel/interviewing committee met to view the interviewing process for the second round of candidates for the business administrator and for the director of special ed. Ms. Colback was with me at that time. It was a huge success, and it was a very productive meeting, and I believe they're on the agenda.
Any other committees? Are there any questions or comments from board members on items for tonight's agenda or other? Oh, Amy, I didn't know, you weren't raising your hand for a committee report, were you?
No, I'll give it when I return.
Okay, thanks. So that was, I think, curriculum met. Right. So Amy will give that report when she returns from her trip. Okay, so questions or comments from board members on tonight's agenda or other topics? Ms. Curry, do you have a microphone? Does it work? Yeah.
This.
I have two things. So last week, the negotiations committee met just to finalize the non-affiliated staff members contract and also Diane Baker's. They are on the agenda tonight, which is 8P, 9P, and 10P. And the only other thing I just want to mention is on the policy updates. Policy so policy 167, which is the public participation in board meetings. I think there's a piece that's missing out of that policy. From my understanding, there should be verbiage in there that allows parents or the public to be able to submit questions or comments by, sometime by 12 o'clock, which is what other Bergen County towns also do. So that, they're not excluded from, participating in board meetings, and they have the opportunity to submit those questions and get those answers or make public comments. So I'm going to vote down that policy tonight until that verbiage is part of that document.
Okay, yes, so that was part of the conversation during the policy committee as well. We did bring that up.
Okay.
But you're right, it's not in the proposed policy, so we can either amend it or we can put it off until another time. Mike?
I have a similar question on number 6. 3 meetings in a year, what's that? 3 consecutive.
What do you mean, number 6?
On the renewal of board, members of the board mandate attend public meetings. I think there should be some kind of exception. I know it's 3 in a row and that's like 6 weeks, that's a lot, but and I'm sure it would never, no one would ever hurt another board member and say if they were hospitalized or had someone or whatever on that part. And the other part, I believe that, we need to tweak a little bit. I think committee meetings should be able to be online. We give 2 meetings a month, which everyone knows is a lot more than 2 meetings a month.
It was my understanding that this only referred to board meetings, not committee meetings.
Okay, the committee meetings, then I'm fine with it, with the exception of maybe tweak it a little bit. But I'm all for that. I've been on this board close to 10 years. I think I missed 3 meetings. One was when my mother died. Another was at a protest, and I might have missed something in the last few weeks with what's going on with me health-wise. But I believe board members should show up for meetings. That's what we get elected for. That's what we're here for. COVID is long gone. I know Zoom is a big part of it. My son works from home 4 days a week, and a lot of people do that, but we're elected to these positions, and I believe we should show up for these positions.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the wording of the policy, and it says, without good cause may be removed. So to me, that means that discussion can take
I
place.
said that. I said if someone was sick,
Extenuating circumstances or things
move
like that.
anybody, no matter how they feel about it.
I was going to add that it's a very good question, Mr. Rubino. Pursuant to your bylaws 0145, which really mirrors just about every other school board that I've seen across the state, it's the removal wouldn't be without due process. So the board member would be given a notice. Your policy or bylaw references 5 days in advance of the meeting at which the vote would take place, of the board's potential consideration of removing that member. From my experience, medical emergencies, hospitalizations, family emergencies, whatever is deemed reasonable cause, a board wouldn't normally remove that person.
Right, and like I said, I don't think anyone on this board will remove anybody for any type of medical issues or whatever, but I just want to make sure that was part of it. But I'm all for in person.
Well,
So first on P0145, I thought what I heard Mike saying was allowing 3 Zooms for board members. And while I think we all try to be here in person, and there is an element when we're all sitting here, there's a little bit of distance when you're on the Zoom. Some of us work in the city and have travel, and we're here, we've been elected to participate. And so there are those times when, business interferes, and I wouldn't want a strict policy to interfere with our recruiting of board members. If people think I absolutely every Monday night, every other Monday night, like clockwork, have to be there, it's going to discourage some people. I happen to have meetings. I'm a member and an officer of the Bergen County School Boards Association and have many meetings for them. I also operate at the legislative level for New Jersey School Boards Association. So if I'm not here, it could be that I was in Trenton for a meeting and decided to Zoom in. I think everyone knows my heart and soul is totally devoted to the public schools in New Jersey and especially in this town. And I think that a slightly more, and I was not totally in favor of board members every meeting or you don't get credit for attending. I think a middle ground on that where you're allowed 3 Zooms a year in an emergency, that's what I thought Mike was saying, and he's giving me the thumbs up. That's what I think would be more appropriate. We all have life and we all want to participate, and we do participate by Zoom, and it's meaningful. And those, when we have private sessions and we do it, where people weigh in, and it's very important to the extent we can have 9 voices contributing. I think we should be doing what we can to do that. So I would be proposing to amend the policy to allow 3 Zooms in a year at a board member's discretion. On P0167, I was very vocal at the committee level. I was absolutely not in favor. Every time it came up, I said I would strenuously oppose it. I think that as a board, we should be doing absolutely everything in our power to get parents, community members, business folks, coaches from out of the district, teachers who don't live in Fort Lee, an opportunity to participate, not just to view, to participate in our meetings. If we want our parents to take kids, have them on sports teams. They cannot be here weighing in on a particular resolution and at a baseball game watching their child, but they want to be at both. And so by allowing them to Zoom in, they can make a comment. We've had it happen many times, and so we should be encouraging Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams. I mean, as a business professional, it is embedded in my daily life now. It is routine. And our district decided, especially in October of 2021, when we hired Dr. Kravitz, that our district was going to take full advantage of technology. We were going to go paperless in our district. A parent does not get a paper form to fill out. Everything is on computer. And if we want to, and we're data driven and everything is technology, well, it has to be technology too when it benefits our parents. And I want to continue to afford them the opportunity to Zoom in and make comments. I think it's just very important that we not try to restrict. A parent who believes that they can be more effective in person has the right to show up and go to the microphone. But I've learned a lot about what is happening in the district frequently from comments from community members. And I think that valuable information will be lost to the board. And so I don't think that we should be restricting the public. I think we should be encouraging it. And unless I don't see how we modify it, I'll be a strong no vote for 167. And when we do get to voting on resolutions, I'm asking that a separate roll call vote be done for policy 0145. That's the one that's regarding board members, and policy 0167. And I'm asking that the second read, there is a perception in the community that we are doing this at this time to frustrate, and when we know many families are on vacation or have other plans. And so I'm asking that the second read of all these policies, which require 2 reads, be done at the September 16th meeting after we come back to school.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hello. I thought I broke. 6 EUR, which is on the agenda for this evening, is to approve online school after 3 days of a state of emergency. So during the COVID times, we worked very hard, and many parents came out and we begged and pleaded to have the students go back to school. And there were many of us parents who were baffled when at the high school they were having full contact sports with no mask, but our students couldn't go into the classrooms and learn. And we begged and we pleaded. And then they let 5 kids come in. And we begged and we pleaded. And then they would let 6 kids come in. And the children were stuck on Zoom. And we saw what happened. And tonight is on the agenda to have it approved, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that in the case of an emergency because that's the way that things go now. Many parent-teacher conferences are via Zoom. Many administrative parent conferences are via Zoom. Many counselor meetings and parents and child advocacy people are via Zoom. It's used throughout the district on so many different things. So my problem is that I see it in one place that we want to do it, and I see it in another place that we don't want to do it. So for me, it's hard for me to say, yes, I think that Zoom, obviously we don't want children not to have access to anything, so have the Zoom meeting, but then take the Zoom meeting away from the board meeting so that parents don't, or community members don't have a right to participate is, it doesn't seem right to me. So for the public participation in the board meetings, that's my feelings on it. I would love if it were a possibility to have 3 chosen Zoom in meetings as a board member, because yes, sometimes things come up, and unfortunately, it is hard to be here. But I understand it is a commitment. Those are my feelings on both of those situations. One other thing I did want to mention is 3 CUR. The amount of money, it's $3,500,000 and something that we're paying for out of district placements. That's a tremendous amount of our budget. I'm wondering if there is any way that we can collectively sit and figure out if maybe paras or teachers could be trained better to facilitate, to keep some of those. Some of the price tags I looked at on there, I was floored by, because if I called up some of those schools that are listed on 3 CUR and said, hey, I'm a student with X, Y, and Z, and I'd like to enroll my student as a private person, I'm going to get a totally different price tag than what I'm seeing on our bill list. That is a ridiculous number. And I can't even open my mouth wide enough to show you how absurd I think it is. And we have to some way find a way. $3,500,000 and something for out of district placement. And that's just on this agenda. So it's crazy, and we got to figure out something. If we're looking for money and we don't have money for teachers, or we don't have money for this or that or garbage bags, then we need to figure out something. I'm not trying to be mean or get ugly or anything like that, but I'm just trying to say it the way it is. So thank you.
As far as the 6 CUR,
Which one?
6 CUR, that is part of chapter 27 of the government aid assignment. The law A3904, which requires every district to have an emergency virtual plan in place by July 31st of every year, just in case there is an emergency. Just to clarify this, that does not mean that your school is open. It does not mean you can do virtual instruction. It means in case of a 3 consecutive days of an emergency, then you have to have a plan in place. So that's just to clarify that. I don't want any misconceptions about that we can suddenly offer if your child is sick or anything like that. That's not what the.
No, it states state of emergency on
Right.
it. It does.
I'm repeating what you said just to clarify everybody, because one of the things we get regularly is parents say, my child's sick, and you just put them on Zoom or put them on Google Meet. We don't do that. No school's doing that. As far as you're concerned about the cost, yes, a lot of districts struggle with cost after salaries and benefits. Most districts are struggling with special education costs, and you'll see busing also was a very huge part of that.
Yeah, what is that number?
It's huge, right? So that's why we're looking at, we have a new special education.
What is it?
I don't know off the top of my head what the
We don't
number.
have the rates yet. I don't have the.
It's in the millions, right?
Yeah.
It's in the millions, the busing. So, yeah.
Yep, and we're not alone in that. And I understand something also though, that the IEP, the individualized educational plan for every student, drives where they will go and what's the best program for them.
Right.
So while we can say we want to save money, we have to be very careful in understanding that it's the program for that child that's best suited for that child. So we can't put necessarily restrictions and say, this is what we have to do. To your point, we have to create programs and develop programs. So one of the things we've done, which right now is under construction, is opening a vocational trades program. So traditionally, people who wanted, and in many cases, special needs students who would not be geared toward college, they would have opportunities. They would go to Bergen County Voc Tech, which is around us. That costs us $36,000 a year. When our building is open, which will be probably 6 to 8 months, that will allow us to not send those students there anymore. They will be in-house. So we have about 11 students that currently attend Paramus Voc Tech. In the future, that number will drop significantly because we'll have those same programs in district.
So what I was looking at is the number of those students. So that number that's listed on 3 CUR, is that every student in the district, or that's just what we have to pay this month?
No. So that's what you have, sorry. That's what we have currently out of district placements.
For the whole district?
For the whole district.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that 6 months from now, a student might move into Fort Lee, or there might be, and that child might need to be placed somewhere, or they might get to stay. Meaning that if they move from Leonia to here and they are entitled to stay in that particular program, that works best for their IEP. That can happen as well. So you might see additions, but the key to every district, and that's why this district did many, many years ago, preschool disabled, when they opened up at the church. The reason why is to maintain the students back in the district. So just like the vocational trades, just like the preschool, those are opportunities. Just like we opened the 18 to 21-year-old program, we'll have 11 students next year. That's a savings of approximately, I think we have the number about 1.5 million. And that's also meaning on Tom Hunter Road that we have 2 students who are paying to come from another district to us with that program, which can be a revenue source. So those 2 programs, since we've been here, have now brought back some, will bring savings to that.
That's fantastic. Now, my next question is the price tag. Is that price tag that we see? Because I did feel like if I called as a parent and said, I have a child that has X, Y, and Z, I felt like the price tag, I feel like they're ripping us off.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead.
What happens with all of the special needs programs out there, at the end of the year, when they have their audit done, we get the certified tuition rates. So this is not like a number that they just make up, and actually they're allowed to either charge more or give a refund based on what the audit shows at the end. So those are the actual numbers of the cost of the programs.
And then it goes to one of the schools and they don't pay the same.
Actually, in your budget, when you have excess money every year, you have an opportunity to put in capital reserve, emergency reserve. One of those is also tuition reserve, which would address any over expenditure that you would have. So when we look at our budget, we do have money in our tuition reserve, and that would address that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
You done, Tanya?
Yes.
On that, our technical school, how many students will it be able to hold fire log wise? How many people can we have in the school?
So it will be a double period, so it's about 40 to 60 students throughout the day. And it will be electrical, plumbing, and general maintenance. So for every new high rise, you can see that it will be not superintendent of schools, but superintendents of those buildings. They actually will have some type of certification through Eastwood College, which is also through the state, just like the apprenticeship program for plumbing and electrical. We'll have the ability to go work in those properties right away.
So 60 people per period or?
No, so 20, it's a double block.
So 60, maybe 70, I got it, okay.
Good at night.
That's it.
All right, so, yeah, I'm with Paula on the one POL. For P145, I'm in favor of that. I think if anyone misses 3 meetings, there should be some ramifications to that. But PO167, no, I think it's an entirely different situation. You know, in this day and age, we have technology, we use it for everything. We're using it for our committee meetings, we use it for our AEP meetings, we use it for everything. You know, and I think we use it for court procedures. So I think taking that tool away from the public is I just think it's a giant mistake. You know, especially considering the public will still be using the same exact platform that enabled them to participate. It's not like we're saving money by getting rid of Zoom. We're still going to be using Zoom. It's just they're not going to have the microphone. And I just disagree with that. You know, I know we've had some controversial issues, and we've had a couple meetings where we've had, you know, a large volume of people come in and talk about things and express very, you know, harsh opinions in many cases. And we've been here very long, and it impacted me just as much as everyone else. But I would rather sit here 1 or 2, 3 nights a year until 10 or 11 o'clock and know that we're getting a chance to hear what every community member has to say, then get out of here at 7 or 8 o'clock. That's just me. So I will be voting no on P0167, but again, P0145, I do think that that's fair. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So is there a way to go back?
Let's have 2 microphones.
These microphones tonight. Good.
So is there a way to go back and amend, because I agree with Kim in adding the verbiage, where a parent can submit a concern or a statement in advance. Is there a way to go back and amend this policy?
So I wouldn't even go as far as to amend it tonight. I was going to go as far as to say, send it back to the policy committee, let them finish drafting, and then bring it back to the board.
Yeah,
So to remove it from voting altogether.
I agree with that.
So
That's
are you
the
going
policy.
to table that?
Not the whole list. What?
No.
Yeah, that's
P0145.
I say 145 and 167 should be tabled, sent back to the policy committee.
On, and I'm against tabling them. No one is making, I mean, we can either amend policy 0145 to allow 3 grace Zooms for people, or we should vote on it. And
But I would like to see that in writing before I just vote on something that's randomly thrown out in the air as a sentence to be added to something that we're voting on.
Okay, so
then I'm against tabling. You put these on and let's vote on it. They either go up or down.
Let's put on not how it's discussed.
So if I may-
okay,
so
so yes,
Go ahead, Lester.
go ahead, Leslie.
Go ahead.
Pursuant to your bylaws, any amended or modified policy or bylaw requires 2 readings before it becomes effective. The first reading is for this very purpose, for the board to review and discuss what the committee has prepared and recommended. It is totally legal and appropriate and ethical for this board to adopt and otherwise incorporate all of the comments that were said tonight. And this would still constitute your first reading. And then at a subsequent meeting, typically is the next regularly scheduled meeting, that would be the second. In lieu of that, what I heard, and even if you did quote unquote vote tonight, technically the law doesn't require a vote on the first reading. However, based upon the way your policy and your bylaw rather is worded, where it says the word approved by the board on the first reading. Because we have some very intelligent board members, 1 or more of you may interpret the word approved as a formal approval. Legally, that's not required. I don't believe that is what the intent of it was, but in order to be consistent with how it can be reasonably interpreted, the word approve will require a vote. Now, that being said, to the extent that there was a request or a suggestion to table the matter so that the committee could make the revisions and present a more clean version of the policy, that's appropriate as well. So I guess we can have one of those like shootouts, the Wild Wild West.
Okay,
Whoever makes the motion first, we can vote on that.
I'm making a motion to table 0145 and 0167.
Second.
Is there a second?
There's a
I want to
motion.
discuss.
Oh, wait.
Second to table policy 0145 and 0167.
Also, no.
Okay.
Okay, I want to discuss it. These items were discussed, this concept of requiring parents now to write out questions and send them in was discussed at the committee level, and it is not, we did not agree to put it in. So we discussed it. It didn't have enough support. So why are we going to go back and recycle and sit around again? That was discussed. That's even like in some ways worse than making parents get in a car and show up here. Now they're going to start drafting. I'm not finished. I have the floor. They're going to have to start, like we're going to have timetables, and who do they send them to? And then the superintendent is on vacation and it doesn't get to the next one and we have a meeting. I mean, guys, allowing someone who zooms in to make a comment or ask a question is streamlined, quick, and easy for our parents. Why are we burdening them? I just want to understand. The committee was, except for me, which was totally opposed to it. Holly put it on the table, you went along, and Amy, and just explain to the board and the public why you want to remove the Zoom comment option. Just explain the basis for it for me.
I'll explain it. The reason why I put it on the table is I feel that now that COVID is over, and the reason why it originally went on was because of the emergency situation with COVID. If the children can go back to school 5 days a week for 10 months, and we as board members who are elected and volunteer, but we do it for the love of our community and because of the kids, can show up 2 times a month, then certainly concerned friends, community members, family, neighbors can show up as well. We used to do it, Paula. You showed up at every meeting. We used to, excuse me, I'm talking now.
Yes.
Thank you. You and I, before we were ever on the board, used to be in that audience when it was jam-packed. We used to get up at that podium. We used to talk. I don't think there was ever a meeting that we didn't show up for. I really don't think there was ever a meeting we didn't show up for. I'm not trying to inconvenience parents. Trust me, I'm not. But if we did it for all those many years, before ever being on the board, okay, when it was never even an option, then certainly when Fort Lee is only, I think, 1.9 radius, I thought we told a million times because of busing, certainly they can show up at the meetings. You as an attorney who worked in New York,
We're not having a fourth argument.
I'm not.
Finish your statement, please.
Thank you. You as an attorney, as a part of a prominent law firm in New York, used to show up at every meeting when you were board meeting and before. And I'm just saying, COVID is over. The kids go back to school, okay? So the parents can show up 2 times a month, not every day, not 3 or 4 times. In fact, some months we only have 1 meeting. That's all I'm saying.
All right,
And
there's a motion on the table. There's a motion on the table. Please roll call, Dina.
Because Zoom didn't exist then. And no one can get
All right,
down.
hold on. Please say your piece. There is a roll call for the motion that was made by Morale, second by Lopez, to remove 0145 and 0167 to go back to policy committee. Mrs. Byers-Ken.
No, you're voting. Come back to me.
Let's hold that.
No, that again, we have. Yes, sorry. We're going around in circles. We did.
I'm sorry. I
You voted yes.
No, I didn't vote yes.
No.
Ms. Harry voted yes. Stop talking while roll call is being taken. Mrs. Conrad.
So yes?
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes, on the contingency, it's gonna be tweaked. Is that what we said?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
going
yeah.
back to policy to
Yes.
be,
Then yes, hard yes.
Mrs. Richter,
yes.
Mrs. Byers Kang.
No.
So it passes to go back to the committee.
What's she?
You said no.
I couldn't hear her. I'm sorry.
Tanya said no.
I said no.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions on the agenda? Other items on the agenda?
I have a question. Can we just find out how many people are on Zoom right now? Just curious.
So 62 attendees?
Thank you.
62 attendees on Zoom. Okay. All right, may I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion, Kovas, second, Morel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, we will hear first from members of the public physically located at the cafeteria tonight. Then we will take questions and comments from those participating remotely. Participants are limited to 3 minutes in which to make their statement. For remote public participants, please select the raise hand button. Our technology person will recognize each community member in order to raise hands by lowering the hand. Please unmute your microphone and state your name and home address for the record and begin your comments. Please, everyone, limit your comments to 3 minutes. There are people in the audience. I'm assuming some of you have comments to make, so please come up to the podium.
Go for the unlucky ones. My name is Brad Raimondo. I live at 2298 Lemoyne Avenue in Fort Lake. I am very pleased with what just happened. What I saw was the majority of this board engage in an open civil debate about a policy that had been proposed, about which some people had misgivings, about which some people felt support, about which some people had questions. A majority vote of this board obviously decided that tonight is not the time to act on the policy. I'm also glad to know, frankly, as a member of the community, that the board is trying to weigh and strike the right balance, strike some kind of balance between the need for members of the public to participate in these meetings, which I think is vitally important, and the need for these meetings to remain civil, which has been difficult in recent months. I'm glad that the debate in this room tonight was civil for the most part. I hope that will continue, but I have to say I doubt. And I say that because it is extremely difficult for a community to hold productive, informed, civil debate when members of this board repeatedly use social media to provide and promote incomplete, inaccurate, and at times downright misleading portrayals of the issues at hand, or use their public platform to spread unfounded and deliberately provocative rumors about the supposed motivations of their fellow board members. I was told that tonight we were going to witness a dastardly plot by evil President Richter and our nefarious superintendent to turn this board into an Iron Curtain style communist state. I read it on Facebook, so I thought it was going to happen. I'm glad to see that it didn't. And I would love to see elected officials in this community and candidates for office in this community try to avoid that kind of untrue and deliberately inflammatory language in the future. I hope that's not too much to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak?
Hello. Y'all, it's summer, so relax. Just name and address for the. Oh, sorry, Michelle Perez, 555, or whatever. I mean, everybody knows that, okay. What I'm really excited about, because of all the energy in the room, is when you get to your goals for the year and multi-year goals, because if you put this much passion into what you're supposed to be doing, man, this gesture is going to be awesome. Also, I'm going to give you some advice that I give to my kids, which is don't go on social media until you do your homework. So if you could get your goals down, and then you can yell at each other on social media now. So, thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Goslin, 2185 Lemoyne Avenue. Just wanted to announce, I know you did this in writing, the Special Education Parents Advisory Group. We do have an official meet and greet for new parents to the district and existing parents of students with 504 and IEPs. So we welcome you to that. It is August 29th, 10 a.m. Do we have a location yet, Dr. Grattan?
I don't know if we have a location. I have to look. After you're done, I'm going to make down my notes about the other thing.
Okay, great. So I'm going to keep shouting at these meetings about everything we're doing. That's a big thing we're doing right now. Sorry, I keep getting my ring on that. But that's it. Thank you very much.
And I would like to announce that CPAC does have an email that is not, it is not if you're trying to contact your case manager or anything like that. It is to get some information about CPAC, the organization itself. It is CPAC at Fort Lee BOE. CPAC at Fort Lee FLBOE.com. Thank you. FEPAG, Special Education Parent Advisory Group. CPAC at FLBOE.com.
Thank you, Keith.
CPAC is your guidance.
Being appropriate question is Fort Lee. I completely agree with Paula. Leonid. Yeah, I completely agree with Paula. Removing Zoom, you're trying to get rid of inconvenient barriers. So there's already zero transparency, and now you're going to get rid of a lot of participants. I understand that the meetings are long. Why don't you limit the Zoom participants to 1 minute and just have maybe like a 15 or 20 Zoom participants? That's it. Then the meetings are going to be short. As far as board members, I'm fine if board members have participate in Zoom. We're in the 21st century. I don't care what if they do it every time.
Thank you.
Just another comment, if I can, for the parents of CPAC. It is the Middle School Media Center. That's the location. The Middle School Media Center will be the CPAC meet and greet.
Anyone else in the public sitting in the room wish to speak before we move to Zoom? Okay. Nick, you're up.
Michal, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Michal? Okay. Mike Osso, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? couple of things. First, let's give a big shout out to our 16U baseball team and our 14U baseball team, state finalists, second place, both of them. So a big shout out to our baseball teams here in Little League. The next thing, PO 167. If I'm not mistaken, I heard that one of the reasons to wanted to eliminate the Zoom portion is because the meetings are taking too long. I don't know if I heard that right, but that should never even come into the equation. As elected members, you should all be encouraging public participation, even if it's one person on Zoom or 50 people on Zoom. We live in different times, and we have technology now that people can do this. So to shut them out is, to me, not a good thing. Now, I do recommend, if you're going to revise policy 167, I think if someone does come onto the Zoom, they should show their face. So this way we know who they are, right? And do the same thing, Mike, also 230 Warren Avenue, Fort Lee, New Jersey, and go through the proper protocols. In regards to policy 145, I think it's all between you all to navigate what is comfortable, not just for this board, but future boards. And I'm a proponent of Zoom, and I'll tell you a reason why. Amy is not present in this meeting tonight. Now, Amy might be on vacation, maybe Amy is somewhere else, but in Fort Lee. And I admire Amy for taking the time out for wherever she is to attend this meeting. Because if you did it the way you want to do it, Amy would not be at this meeting. So you have to look at it rational. And I think you guys got to slow down with not just this board, but future boards. And you got to utilize technology. And I hope you all do come with a happy median with this. But you also have to look at it, like I just used Amy as a perfect example. Amy, under the way you guys wanted to do it, Amy would not be here. But I commend Amy for wherever she is right now. Obviously, she's not in Fort Lee from I probably know, but she is taking the time out to show up and be in attendance shouldn't matter. Either via Zoom or in person. And that's just my thoughts, views, and opinions. And I hope you all take a deep breath and figure this out. But to put PO 167 to eliminate public discussion in a public forum to minimize Zoom because possibly these meetings are taking too long. I'm sorry, that's not acceptable from a board member. Not.
Yeah.
Peace out. Love you all.
Felix Brother, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Maybe we can come back to Felix. Oh, there you go.
Felix? Okay. Andrew, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Andrew Goodman, 326 Bridge Plaza North. A couple of questions I have. The new building on Tom Hunter Road. First of all, let me just introduce myself. I'm the Vice President of CPAC. Last week, on the Executive Committee of CPAC, we met with Ms. Davis and Robert Kravitz, and we had a very, very productive meeting. So thank you for that meeting. A couple of questions. I know that Ms. Davis is leaving. On tonight's agenda is her replacement to start in October. will somebody be appointed interim acting director until that time frame? Also, is there going to be a school nurse at the Tom Hunter building? Because there will be kids in that building. And so far on the board of agendas, I have not seen anything like that. Number three is that last month on the agenda was Dr. Kravis's contract. However, there are other contracts that were on the agenda. However, there's no attachment to the contract. So I was wondering why that was. Also, policy 167, as Nick mentioned, there's over 60 people currently on this meeting via Zoom. That has to tell you a lot, okay, that people want to participate. I am currently on Zoom because I am not in Fort Lee. However, I do want to participate. And one of the things, reason I got involved in CPAC is because one of the things we kept hearing from parents is that there was a communication breakdown. And by, amending policy 167 to public participation, that's just gonna make the policy and, the communication even worse for the district. Communication is the key, and we need to have open communication. In addition, there was some talk regarding about people submitting their questions in writing, let's say by 12 o'clock. How would that work if there's a walk-in resolution and then people on Zoom would not be allowed to comment on that? If there's a walk-in resolution, they're not privy to that prior to the meeting. So I get some answers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goodman. So a few questions, a few of answers I can give you as far as the interim. We're meeting with Ms. Davis on Thursday because we go through the process when someone is approved, and then we'll figure out what we're doing. And we have a list of what the necessary things need to take place. As far as a nurse, yes, we do have one in district who will be transferred over there. There's one that was hired last year for that position. So yes, as far as no contracts, so my contract is not for this board meeting. And as far as 7P, if I think you're referring to 7P, the new school business administrator. So once he is approved, then we have the contract sent to the county, and we're awaiting that approval, that process. So, but he is looking to start as soon as by October 7th, possibly earlier. We spoke with him today, and he's already getting to meet with Ms. Mestry on his off time, and we're looking forward to that. So, as far as the questions, I don't know if anyone wants to answer those questions regarding policies and anything. Okay. Thank you.
Faten Hassan, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes. Hi, good evening. Thank you. I might be naive, but I thought that the board is not getting paid to be there. And I really, if you're not getting paid, I really, really appreciate you taking this time to make decisions for the town. Some of the people on Zoom just want to vent. I don't think it's appropriate. Please vent on Facebook. You've been doing a wonderful job venting on Facebook. Please leave it to Facebook because these wonderful people are there to make decisions. And I think the venting is a waste of time on Zoom. The Board of Ed meeting should be for legitimate questions that should actually be answered for the benefit of our children. Please remember the children. Some of my questions in the past have gone unanswered. It's okay. I know what's going on. For this Zoom, the question about Zoom, I'm just going to put my professional opinion that Zoom should stay. I have children. I cannot go. I want to be there, but I just can't. So this is really convenient. If it's too long, I think 3 minutes is a long time for each person. Maybe we should cut it down to 1 minute, maybe 2. I think 1 is appropriate just because we have so many people on Zoom. So many people have questions. When you put it to 1 minute, when you limit it to 1 minute, it forces everybody just to ask questions and not to vent and not to add just talking. So our goal, please remember, is always about the children in the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margarita Vigodner, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm actually sick today at home, so now I would not be able to come and talk. I'm very thankful that we had Zoom today.
Can you just
I also
state
want
the address for the record, please?
5 Victoria Place, Margarita Vigodner, Fort Lee. I also want to thank one of the board members about informing us about the board meeting and the agenda. We had multiple comments in this Facebook post from the parents who thanked the board member for letting them know. People are on vacations, people don't know, so thank you very much. Also, yeah, we do have a couple people who always start conspiracies on the Facebook by putting graphs targeting specific board members. And we also have someone who echoes the second community member. And so that's not something new. They target anyone they disagree with, whether it's a board member or a community member. I really frustrated that you eliminated this Zoom option just because a couple of the board members felt tired. You have about 24 meetings over the year and 2 or 3 of them went long. And because of that, you silence parents. We have people who commute from New York. We have people who, half of the town waiting for their kids during the sport practices. I'm very surprised that Doug actually doesn't, he knows that. People watching on their phones, they come, you know, they call in, they want to voice their opinion. We have disabled people. Actually, I have a couple of friends who are disabled in Fort Lee. We have single parents. We have people with their language barriers who feel more comfortable talking from the home. You, as board members, have to welcome your neighbors, your friends, right? Speaking and voicing their opinion. This is very strange that you don't want to hear from them just because you're tired, you know, maybe it's time for you to go. Now, second question that I have. I know that Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey approached Fort Lee district following the Hamas lesson in Fort Lee High School with the training about anti-Semitism that they conducted at several high schools at Bergen County. So I want to ask the superintendent why this anti-Semitism training was not approved. I see on agenda multiple diversity trainings which are very good, but I wonder why we don't the district declined anti-Semitism training from Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey that was conducted in many other schools at Bergen County, given the rise in anti-Semitism and the fact that we had Hamas lessons. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We didn't decline that program at all. I met with them and I met with the Anti-Defamation League as well. There were 2 different programs presented and one of them, you know, we haven't chosen, but it was one, I forgot the name of it, from the ADL, which was more comprehensive for across grade levels. But we'll be meeting with them again, and I mentioned that at the last meeting as well. We didn't decline the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. As I said, we met with them as well as the Anti-Defamation League.
Thank you.
Michal, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hey, second time lucky. So Michal Komanescu, Tom Hunter Road, Fort Lee, New Jersey. So my thought on the Zoom meetings is we need to have the ability to call in remotely because as many people know, people also work, people are also sick, and it also gives an option for parents to be more involved. If the concern is that the Zoom meetings would be populated with too many people that are not actually involved in community or spam, I remind the board that they actually have our email addresses and phone numbers via Genesis when we enroll the kids. And in that way, they can pretty much set up Zoom to send out emails with personalized links or passwords to those email addresses. That's how we created CPAG. That's how we voted in CPAG. And I can tell you that we never had a meeting in person with CPAG. So if it works there, I fail to see why it doesn't work with Zoom either for the general meetings. However, if you decide to ditch Zoom, I demand that in-person people that walk to the middle school should be ID'd, because we had a couple of events already where the hall was full with special interest groups from New York, from Philadelphia, from South New Jersey that had nothing in common with the people in this town. And parents that actually needed to speak their mind didn't have a seat at the table to actually speak. So if you're gonna get rid of Zoom, how are you gonna ensure that the parents can actually speak over there? I suggest IDing at the entrance. And in this way, by having an ID, you can also take away the necessity of actually saying your address on record, because you don't need it. You know who you are. Now, on the curriculum itself, I see that the district decides to terminate the what's the name of it? ERI curriculum for special ed for schools 2, 5, and 6. I wonder was CPAC involved in that? And the question is, when would parents be notified to adjust the IEPs, and what are the alternatives to that? Because I'm fully sure, my kid is in one of those classes, and it's the first time hearing that he's gonna go to a school that's not there anymore.
Are you done with all your questions? And I'll answer.
I'm done. That's it. Thank you.
So just to clarify, this one of the statements you made, CPAC. So CPAC does meet in person as well as virtual. It's a combination thereof, just to clarify that. As far as the ERI programs, there were not enough students in the programs, and it was brought to the attention of the administration that the students would be placed in other programs within some in the district, some would be out of district. If your child was in that ERI program, they would have been contacted, because you must have signed an IEP, which would have placed your student in whatever program your child was scheduled for. So that's, there's no curriculum. I mean, as far as it's not a curriculum program, it is a actual classroom. Just there are self-contained class, there are multi-disabled classes, there are inclusion classes, there are resource classes, and ERI, the emotional response intervention classes. They are no longer needed in this district right now. Doesn't mean they can't be in the future, but anytime you make a change like that, you have to place it on a board agenda and do it that way. Thank you.
Steph Kotso, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Confirmed.
Can you hear me? I put my camera on.
We can hear you.
Oh, hi. Hello, everyone. So I'm calling in tonight regarding, can you hear me?
Name and address for the record, please.
It's Stephanie Kotzo on Tom Hunter Road. So on the 0167 policy, I'm very shocked with what Doug said. I mean, is Doug saying that he's for this policy of removal, but he wants parents now to write in ahead of time?
Board, not one specific board member.
Well, okay, this is what he just said, that he wants parents to write in. What I heard from each board member is what I'm going over, okay? Nobody even has the agenda with enough time in front of them to go over all of these items. Number 2 is, in a court, the lawyer is there via Zoom. If you go for traffic court or any other thing, everything is on Zoom. It is very difficult to get around New Jersey. It is more difficult with the bridge closure that we have. The traffic is insanity. Zoom is the way of this century for people to be involved. And I understand what Holly was saying, but I feel that we have come into a new place. I had a child with disabilities. I couldn't leave my son alone. There's no way that I'm going to drag my son to these meetings. There are many children from what we've just seen with all the money that we're spending in district that have disabilities. There are children with developmental disabilities that there's just one parent in the home in the evenings because people work different shifts. A lot of people are working on Zoom themselves. I think it's wonderful that the board members can actually attend on Zoom. Maybe you figure something out where half the board is in person, some are on Zoom. I think that that is a reprieve for the people that work. And like Amy, I feel like she's very involved, even though she's not there physically. She's there on Zoom. I know she's listening. She's going to hear what everyone's saying, and she's going to be involved with the decision-making process. To deny parents the right to speak is one of the most nefarious things that I've heard come up yet on this board. And when Kristen, when you started the meeting, you said it was at the urging of several community members that you came up with this plan. You said that several community members have spoken to you about this. So I would think that those community members are more of the issue, not the community members who continually show up and want to know what's going on in district.
She gets the gold.
At the Olympics?
It's like playing at the Emmys when they try to get you.
The Emmys, okay.
Right, thank you for your time.
Excuse me, my husband's here and we only have one way because his Zoom doesn't work. He would like to speak.
Hi there. My name is Christos. I'm from Tom Hunter Road in Fort Lee. And I strongly oppose the proposal to remove Zoom participation in public meetings. I'd just like to remind, there was a board member that mentioned something about having people attend in person and they should be there, they should be at the meeting to speak. But, you know, before there was email, there were passenger pigeons. Before there were automobiles, there were horse and buggy. Before there was a fax machine, there were messengers. Zoom is part of our life now. It happens in the workplace, it happens at home, it happened at school, it happens in college. There are people that work remotely, so to remove it is terrible. And Zoom it's significantly improved accessibility and transparency. This move feels not only cheeky and regressive, it's enabled broader community involvement. It's allowed parents, teachers, and others who may have scheduling conflicts or mobility issues to participate. And eliminating this option undermines your commitment to inclusivity and will ultimately silence voices. You should be leveraging technology to strengthen, not weaken, our community and parents' involvement in this process. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. You must have missed the part where we removed that policy from tonight's agenda, so we will not be voting on that tonight.
But you said you were going back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I mean, it's the proposal of it is very cheeky. It seems to be a cheeky move to continually remove parental involvement in their children's lives.
Nick, move on to the next person.
Irina Koresh, you've been promoted to panelist. Please state your name and address. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Irina Koresh, 230 Tremont, Fort Lee, New Jersey. Two things. I just heard that there's going to be some kind of a defamation league training or anti-Semitism. Given what the prior training has been, the curriculum that was shown to the students, will the parents have the ability to review the proposed anti-Semitism training before it is shown to the kids? I somehow have very little trust that we're not going to portray Hamas as resilient fighters. We won't do that again. And I think as Jewish members of this community, we have a right to know what is being taught to our children. And the second one on the Zoom participation, I agree with the parents. I have 2 kids. They're both in after-school activities. We only have 2 parents. One of us has to pick them up. The after-school activities run till 9 o'clock most days. So I don't know. I don't know if Holly or whoever's on the board has children and how they manage the pickups and everything else, but most of us are running around in our cars, sitting in our cars, waiting for our kids. That's it for me.
Thank you for your comments. We have not figured out all the professional development. Professional development for teachers would not be presented to parents, but we, if whatever direction we go with either one, we would present something to probably the Board of Education indicating what it would be. We usually do the curriculum department, but again, it's your professional development for the teachers who are. It's excuse me, just a minute. It's actually. And it would be also if there were presentations like district-wide or assemblies, that would be done through also, like we would normally do, the high school principal or the middle school principal would organize the presentations like that.
And my second one is, where are we on the investigation of what happened? Like, I haven't been able to zoom in or join any of the meetings in the past week, but where are we in getting to the bottom of what had happened with the curriculum, who approved it, all of that? Is there going to be an independent investigation? I mean, we spent so much money on the Giacomelli debacle. I can't imagine we're not going to spend money on this.
Do you have any more questions after that?
That's it. Yes, those are it.
Madam President, if I may respond to this young lady's question and or any other members of the public who may intend to comment on this. As previously stated, the board cannot respond in public to matters of personnel and or pending or anticipated litigation. So respectfully, the board is, with this administration, looking into matters of personnel, but cannot respond publicly now or likely in the future because it involves matters that are exempt from public disclosure under the law.
Okay.
Nick, are there any other raised hands?
There are no more raised hands.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Second.
Motion Rubino, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, may I have a motion to approve items 1B through 3B?
Motion.
Second. Motion Myers-King, second. Rubino, roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang.
Yes.
Ms. Colback. Yes. Mrs. Curry.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mrs. Kotang.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1 CUR through 8 CUR?
Motion. Second.
Motion Morel, second Byers-King, roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang.
Yes.
Ms. Colback. Yes. Mrs. Curry. Yes. Mr. Knight. Mrs. Kotang.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 11F?
Motion.
Motion Byers-King, second Curry, roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang.
Yes.
Ms. Colback. Yes. Mrs. Curry. Yes. Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mrs. Kotang.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 18P?
Motion. Second.
Motion Morel, second Byers-King, roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang.
Yes.
Ms. Colback. Yes on everything except since the contract wasn't attached to 7P. I'm going to abstain. Mrs. Curry. Yes. Mr. Knight.
Yes on everything except for 7P. Abstain.
Mrs. Kotang.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve 1 POL as amended with the removal of 0145 and 0167?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Morel, second Curry, roll call, please.
Mrs. Byers-Kang.
I'm sorry, I'm very confused. Okay, so where are we? There's a lot of stuff going on here.
We're on one POL.
Okay, okay,
The
policy,
policies,
policy,
not
policy, yes, vote yes, on the policy. On the Ridgefield Park employee that's coming in that's not attached, I do want to abstain. On my
your
vote.
roll call was already taken.
I know, so it is what it is.
So,
But anything, let do Robert's rules, you can change the vote.
well, pursuant to Robert's rules, technically, the only way you can change your vote would be to basically be a motion to reconsider and retake the action. However, pursuant to my unofficial, this is not Congress rule, since we haven't adjourned the meeting, quite frankly, the change is not going to affect the outcome. If you want to do that, that's fine.
I would like to,
She's changing her vote on one,
7P. Yes. Ridgefield Park.
Abstain. 7P, the contract.
There is no contract because the man is just hired this evening.
Isn't there a contract that was sent to the executive county superintendent?
You're technically, it's already been
We're in the
voted
middle of
on.
another roll
Yeah,
call for a
we
different
can
vote.
come back on the old business and talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, we are. We're going to call it now for policy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Mrs. Curry. Yes. Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mrs. Cote.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Mr. Rubino.
Yes.
Mrs. Richter.
Yes. Is there any old business? Any new business?
Yes, I just want to raise a concern that parents have raised among school 3 community. And it was a similar situation when my children were transitioning from school 3 to the intermediate school. I know that we're still working on a lot of busing issues, but providing the community with a timeline on when busing communications would be made would help really calm the nerve of a lot of parents. Many of them try to reach out. I understand have not heard back from our transportation coordinator, and I get it. It's it's vacation season, but I think at the minimum, if we can provide a calendar of when communications would be made, I think the community can really benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanya, you want to chat?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Wayne Monaco, one of our security officers that was on the resignations tonight, will be greatly missed. He is an incredible human being who I had the pleasure of meeting when my child was in middle school. I mean, just a stand-up guy who's going to be missed. I wish him the best in everything he does. He's an incredible person. I think I said that a couple times. Just can't get any better. So,
yeah. And I just like to say regarding.
Wait, let Mike finish.
Oh, I didn't.
Yes.
And just as like over 40 years, he was a big asset. He will definitely be missed. I agree.
Go ahead, Molly.
So I knew Wayne very well because he owned the condo downstairs from me. And my baby girl's sister, who I called my baby girl, was Michelle Monaco. And that was his niece. And I was there when he married Maria, and he's a phenomenal guy. He's just
We all love Wayne. We wish him the best.
Huh?
We all love Wayne. We wish him the best. Okay, three more things. The contract was not yet sent to the executive county superintendent for 7P because we need to approve his hire first, and it will be sent tomorrow. Approve his hire first, and then the contract will be sent tomorrow. To hire.
Say it again.
Hire.
Okay, we just approved to hire him. Does anyone know the compensation, the number of days, the vacation?
So what I would suggest, since this is a matter of personnel, that these questions and discussion points be reserved for closed executive session. We haven't answered them, but not in public.
Okay.
She was already in on the meeting.
I don't know, but let's talk about it. This personnel.
Second, Tomorrow night is night out at Fort Lee Community Center, 6 to 9. And Mr. Rubino, do you want to do your plug?
Wednesday will be the 95th year for the St. Rocco Feast. It's Portland's oldest tradition.
When?
And
Wednesday through Sunday.
yeah, 95th year. Hopefully the weather holds up. Get mixed reviews. And all the money we make, we give out to the community all year long.
Thank you. Anything else before we close?
Yeah, I had my hand up a while.
Go ahead.
Are we doing something different with our, I got some text that the quality for the people in Zoom land tonight was not the same, and I'm noticing that we don't have a camera. Is this just a fill-in because it's a vacation time?
So the camera broke. We will be getting probably new equipment, and just like we're learning about the microphones, we will be ordering some microphones.
Okay, but this is not a permanent type thing. Great, thank you.
I have a motion to close.
Okay.
Motion would be a second pullback. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.